Today, we're counting down the 10 biggest upsets in mixed martial arts history. Number 10. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. So when the betting odds closed on this fight, Strickland was a plus 500 underdog. Now Strickland, no problem running his mouth. You love to hear him at the post and pre-fight press conferences. He gets asked multiple stupid questions. He loses his shit, starts talking about all these ridiculous subjects. But the bottom line is he got in the cage with Israel Adesanya and he picked up the victory, becoming the new middleweight champion. Now, not many people gave him a chance. A lot of people going into that fight thought he was just a big mouth. He didn't deserve the title shot. He had zero chance of beating Adesanya for the title. And then, boom, he rocked Adesanya in the fight. And he became the new middleweight champion of the world. Number 9. Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, number 1. Now, when the odds closed on this fight, Pena was a plus 650 underdog to Amanda Nunes, who was just running through everybody in that division. She even beat Chris Cyborg a weight above this, but she went on, defended the title against Pena, who was not really considered a big challenge. Now, in my opinion, actually, when Pena came off the Ultimate Fighter and won, I thought she might actually be the one to defeat Ronda Rousey for the Bantamweight Championship, but that never happened. Holly Holm got it done. More on that later. But in this one, Juliana Pena went in against Amanda Nunes, a big underdog, and she pulled off the victory. Juliana Pena became the new Bantamweight champion. They did have a rematch a little while later where Amanda Nunes got her revenge and reclaimed the Bantamweight champion. A lot of people thought, oh, we're definitely going to get a trilogy fight. Well, trilogy fight has not happened. It may happen in the future, but in the first fight, Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes to become the Bantamweight champion. Number 8. Tito Ortiz versus Ryan Bader. So Tito was walking into this fight against Ryan Bader, a plus 450 underdog. A lot of people thought if Ryan Bader beats Tito, Tito takes the L. This will be the last time we see Tito Ortiz in a UFC octagon. And somehow Tito Ortiz caught Ryan Bader coming in for a takedown, wrapped on a guillotine choke, and night Ryan Bader. Tito Ortiz had his hand raised and was victorious. Now Tito would go on to have 3 more UFC fights. His last one against Forrest Griffin, he did lose those 3 fights. His fight with Lyoto Machida, he almost caught Machida with a triangle choke very late in the fight, but it didn't succeed. But in this one, Tito Ortiz beat Ryan Bader, got a new UFC contract after the fight, but never won in the UFC again. Did go outside the UFC and have a couple fights afterwards, as did Ryan Bader. But number 8, Tito Ortiz upsetting Ryan Bader. Number 7, Kimbo Slice versus Seth Petrozelli. Now this fight was originally scheduled to be Kimbo Slice versus Ken Shamrock, but because Ken Shamrock was cut, the Athletic Commission said no, Shamrock cannot fight. So Elite XC basically scrambled to find an opponent to fight Kimbo Slice on extremely short notice, and Seth Petrozelli stepped up. Big difference in weight, but that didn't matter. And so when it came to it, it was about a plus 370. Petrozelli was an underdog, so he wasn't a massive underdog, but behind the scenes, they made a deal with Petrozelli. They paid him a little extra and they said, do not take this fight to the ground. And he didn't. And he knocked out Kimbo Slice. This pretty much sealed the fate of Elite XC. They were never the same. Kimbo was never the same. Kimbo would later go in to the Ultimate Fighter show, have a couple fights in the UFC, but really never recovered from Elite XC heat when Kimbo Slice got finished by Seth Petrozelli on about 2 hours' notice. Number 6. Chris Weidman versus Anderson the Spider Silva. Now going into this fight, Weidman was a 220 underdog, so he wasn't a massive underdog, surprisingly, where Anderson Silva was on a 16 fight winning streak with 10 successful middleweight title defenses. Of course, he won a few fights at light heavyweight, non-title. He beat James Irvin. He beat Forrest Griffin. Now going into this one, Chris Weidman was considered a high-level wrestler. And we all know what happened when Anderson Silva fought another high-level wrestler, your uncle, your boy, Chael P. Sonnen, undefeated and undisputed. And in this one, everyone thought maybe Weidman can pull it off with his wrestling. Well, he didn't actually wrestle Anderson at all. Anderson got caught clowning around, and boom, Weidman dropped him with a left hand, and Anderson Silva went night-night. That's right, absolutely shocking conclusion as Chris Weidman finished Anderson Silva on the feet with a left hand. And then, of course, they did have a rematch, and in the rematch, Anderson Silva broke his leg by kicking Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman started celebrating like he just won a gold medal. It was a little strange, but unfortunately, really, Anderson Silva was never the same after that match. We all remember his match with Nick Diaz. Diaz kind of laying on the mat, clowning. It was a hell of a show. But in this one, Anderson Silva gets knocked out by Chris Weidman, number 6. Number 5. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Now coming into this fight, Holly Holm was a plus 830 underdog, which is absolutely crazy. Put your money on this. This is the second biggest underdog on the list. Number 1, we'll get to later. But Holly Holm plus 830 underdog. Now coming into the fight, Holly Holm is known as a boxer and a kickboxer. Good kicks, good jabs, lefts, rights. She is a multiple-time boxing world champion. And Ronda, known as a judo artist. And Ronda destroying girls in the bantamweight division. Not beating them in minutes, beating them in seconds. Absolutely absurd the reign that she went on before running in to Holly Holm. Now, right before this fight, Ronda beat Bethe Correia about 2 or 3 months previously by knockout. She beat her by throwing punches. Now, did Ronda get too confident, maybe too cocky with her hands going in to the Holly Holm fight? Very possible, but there wasn't a whole lot of judo in this fight. And then everybody remembers the kick. The kick heard round the world, and it was all over. Ronda Rousey took the L. Holly Holm beat her with the head kick, becoming the new women's bantamweight champion. Number 4. Renan Barão versus T.J. Dillashaw. So T.J. Dillashaw came into this fight a plus 765 underdog. An absolute massive underdog challenging Renan Barão for the championship. Now, at this point, Renan Barão had been dominating everyone. He's been undefeated for 9 years, and he was on a 32 fight win streak. Now, this match was originally supposed to be Rafael Assunção's title match against Renan Barão, but he pulled out. So late replacement, alpha male prospect T.J. Dillashaw. People may know him as TJ Killishaw, as he was an absolute killer from Alpha Male, and he gets a shot. A massive underdog, Renan Barão destroying everybody, like I said, undefeated for 9 years. And TJ Dillashaw absolutely outclassed him. Dillashaw finished him in the 5th round by TKO, but the first 4 rounds, absolutely no doubt about it, Dillashaw won him. Dillashaw was dominating the entire fight. Everybody was just surprised that it looked so easy for Dillashaw to beat a guy who's been undefeated and on a 32 fight win streak. TJ Dillashaw beating Renan Barão, number 4. Number 3, BJ Penn versus Frankie the Answer Edgar. So in this fight, Frankie Edgar was going in as a plus 725 underdog to the prodigy, the lightweight champion BJ Penn. Now BJ Penn at lightweight looked damn near unstoppable. What he did to guys like Sean Shirk, Diego Sanchez, Ken Florian, and the brutal beatdown of Joe Daddy Stevenson. Like I said, BJ Penn looked unstoppable. And then one night in Abu Dhabi, he ran in to Frankie the Answer Edgar, and Edgar pulled off the unanimous decision victory. Nobody looked at Frankie Edgar and said, yep, this guy is going to take the title from BJ Penn. It just wasn't happening. And then Edgar pulled off the shocking upset, becoming the new lightweight champion. And these guys would square off in a rematch, which Frankie also won. And then years and years later, they were coaches on The Ultimate Fighter. And at The Ultimate Fighter finale, again, it was Frankie Edgar picking up the W. That's right, Edgar beat BJ Penn 3 times and did not have a difficult time picking up those wins. Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn, number 3. Number 2, Gabriel Gonzaga versus Mirko Cro Cop. Now we all remember the days in Pride when it was right kick hospital, left kick cemetery. That's right, Mirko Cro Cop was kicking people's heads off, absolutely dominating. And he went into the UFC, and his first fight was Gabriel Gonzaga, and Gonzaga was a plus 600. Yes, 600 underdog. And everybody thought they're going to feed Gonzaga to Cro Cop. He's going to pick up a W, and then he will get a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. But shocking the world was Gabriel Gonzaga, and in the fashion he did it, he head kicked Mr. Head Kick. That's right, he landed a head kick on Cro Cop, and Cro Cop crumbled, absolutely unconscious. And Mirko Cro Cop, I don't know if I would say he was ever the same again after that. The way he landed on his leg, he was out for a while. Now, later on, a few years down the road, they actually did have a rematch where Cro Cop did pick up the victory, but the same hype train was not behind Cro Cop at that time. And in their first fight, Cro Cop absolutely knocked out by Gabriel Gonzaga, the second biggest upset, in my opinion, in MMA history. Number 1 and the biggest MMA upset in history, Matt Serra versus George Rush St. Pierre. So this was GSP's first title defense after defeating Matt Hughes to win the title. Matt Serra was actually coming off, I believe it was season 4 victory on The Ultimate Fighter, and the winner gets a shot at the welterweight title, and it's St. Pierre. Serra comes in as a plus 850 underdog. Yes, 850. Nobody thought Serra had much of a chance. Actually, leading into the fight, people were talking about GSP's next title defense. That's right, they were asking him about his next title match following this fight with Serra, because nobody was giving Serra respect. Nobody thought Matt Serra could get the job done. They were saying maybe a trilogy fight with Matt Hughes. John Fitch was racking up win after win after win, so maybe you give him a shot. Hey, maybe BJ Penn jumps up to welterweight and we get another GSP versus BJ Penn match. But it was all upset. The cradle was rocked as George St. Pierre got TKO'd by Matt the Terra Serra. And guess what? If you're the greatest fighter of all time, which in my opinion, that's what I think GSP is, the GOAT. So in my opinion, GSP, the greatest fighter of all time, losing the greatest upset of all time to Matt Serra, that is my biggest upset in MMA history.